Hello and welcome, dear viewers. Today, you're not just watching a bus ride, you're stepping into a virtual journey through the picturesque region of Lemmental-Neuenbreid. I'm Joey, your host for this ride, and I'll be your guide through the sights, sounds, and stories of Line 363. At the helm of this adventure is none other than Mr. Drive, a true maestro of the road. Calm, collected, and with a steering wheel that might as well be an extension of his soul. He's not just driving a bus, he's conducting a symphony of asphalt and diesel. We're rolling out from Neuenbreid S-Bahnhof and heading toward Oldenel-Blue-Kirchen Busbahnhof. Along the way, we'll pass through charming towns, winding roads, and those little details that make Lemmental feel like a place you'd want to get lost in, just so you can be found again by the next bus. And speaking of buses, feast your eyes on this beauty, the Mercedes MBO 530 Citaro, crafted by MX200. It's not just a vehicle, it's a statement. With its custom Lemmental repaint, it blends into the landscape like it was born there. Sleek lines, smooth handling, and a look that says, yes, I'm the bus you wish you were riding. Now, while there may be no passengers on board yet, that just means more space for you, the viewers, to soak in every detail. No chatter, no distractions, just pure transit bliss. Whether you're a bus enthusiast, a virtual traveler, or just here for the vibes, we're thrilled to have you along. So sit back, relax, and let the journey unfold. From Mr. Drive, myself Joey, and the entire Lemmental crew, we wish you a pleasant viewing experience. Let's hit the road. We're now heading for our stop at the S-Bahn station and we'll begin our journey there. Let's pick up the passengers and see what happens next. And just like that, we arrive at the first stop. The engine hums, the dashboard flickers, and everything seems to be going according to plan. Except, well, it's the wrong stop. Mr. Drive, our usually sharp-eyed captain of the road, has accidentally selected the wrong route. A tiny oversight, really. Just a small matter of not checking the name of the first stop. Classic. So here we were parked confidently at a location that has absolutely nothing to do with our intended journey. The passengers? Imaginary. The confusion? Very real. And the schedule? Already slipping through our fingers like sand in an hourglass. Time to hit reset. Mr. Drive leans into the onboard computer like a hacker in a heist movie.
Weet je Joey, we rijden vandaag op de pijlen en dat is niet mijn meest succesvolle manier van rijden, maar goed, ik heb nog geen tijd gehad om hem uit mijn hoofd te leren.
More alarming signs from our driver. This is his second day at Lemmental, and he doesn't know the routes yet. Omni Navigator isn't available, it won't cooperate on this PC, and our steering wheel isn't exactly great at navigating with the arrows this map offers. This is partly because they're not exactly the most logical and clear.
Layout van dit busstation is niet mijn favoriet om het zo maar te zeggen.
The bus station we're currently driving into isn't exactly the most logical one. It's a maze of stops, and the access routes are vague, to say the least. So, we're going to try to get out of here without any problems or other delays. The environment we're currently driving through seems more like a reshuffling of Spandau objects. While good for performance, it lacks character. The first version of the map was, as it seems naturally then, exactly that. An add-on map that required few, if any, payware add-ons. Not surprising, since the first incarnation of Lemmental was in the early days of OMSI. Nowadays there is so much content available that using only default content comes across as a bit cheap and lazy. For the old part this approach is logical since it is made years ago, however for this new part you may expect more.
Ik ben bang dat ze hier de VKL stoplichtplaatje hebben liggen.
Mr. Drive is referring here to the VKL traffic light objects used on Kevin Nitschmann's products. These objects are essentially freeware, but of questionable quality, so they are fitting in perfectly into Nitschmann's work. They are particularly notorious for their long phase times.
Ja, klopt.
Guten Tag.
Hallo. Goedendag. Goedendag. Nou, zie je wel dat ik ook een bijrijder heb.
It's my pleasure to join you for this special occasion. I'm honored to be part of this drive.
Nou, bulk nog steeds van de Spandau-producten.
Neuenbreid, Zirkusallee.
Ja. Weet je wat nou grappig is, Joey? Heb ik aan de halve wereld uitgelegd hoe
Hallo.
je de verkeersinstellingen moet aanpassen. Dan heb ik het zelf niet gedaan.
Well, sometimes actions don't always make sense. Mr. Drive just told me he made a short tutorial for a YouTuber, Mr. Florian Kale, on how to adjust traffic density, because the settings on this map are way too high. Then he forgot to adjust the settings on his own PC. Well, he did adjust it, but only on the PC where he does his OMSI building, not on the PC where he creates his rides. During this ride, we'll see a lot of traffic tearing across the map. This can sometimes lead to strange or unrealistic situations. You've been warned.
Guten Tag.
Hallo. Guten Tag.
Hallo.
Hallo.
Grüß Gott. Moin moin. Ja, dit gedeelte ziet er best oké uit. Fietsstoplichten. Ik begrijp alleen niet waarom je een stoplicht met een pijl is terwijl je maar één kant op kan. Maar, niet echt keuzes in banen. Nou goed. Misschien kan je nooit duidelijk genoeg zijn.
Here's some history of the map. Lemmental began as a fictional OMSI map project around 2015, set in a bustling German district north of Cologne. With over 480,000 virtual residents, 3 train stations, and more than 20 bus lines, it quickly became one of the most ambitious and detailed maps in the OMSI community. Version 2 was widely praised, but version 3 took things to another level: 180 tiles, nearly 400 minutes of drivable routes, and a fully realized RVL transit network. Even smaller operators like Persic Bus were included, offering nostalgic double-decker tours and regional services. Then came Lemmental-Neuenbreid, a refined expansion that added new districts, improved textures, and enhanced transitions between urban and rural zones. It brought more realism, more variety, and more dynamic driving scenarios, from tight city loops to long intercity hauls. It's a landmark in OMSI mapping, a digital metropolis crafted with obsessive detail and a clear love for public transport. But not everyone sees it that way. For some players, the map's sheer scale becomes a burden. Routes are unreal, sometimes repetitive, and the AI traffic can be frustrating. Certain areas feel unfinished or inconsistent, and the technical limits of OMSI itself begin to show. In many views, the map's ambition may have outpaced its playability, making it more impressive in quantity than enjoyable to drive. So while Lemmental stands as a towering achievement, it also reminds us, more and bigger isn't always better. Sometimes, a compact, well-optimized map delivers the most satisfying ride. Maps like Lemmental-Neuenbreid downgrade OMSI from a simulator to a game. The primary goal seems to be variety, achieved by creating many winding, highly unrealistic paths and a line layout so densely packed together that it resembles a playground. In short, lots is the key word, with quality coming second. For that, you'd have to look to other map builders, but unfortunately, they no longer seem to be active.
Gustav Klimt, dat is toch een dichter of zo? Ik weet, je hebt ook het Gustav Klimt Viool Quartet. Do you know something about it?
Gustav Klimt was an Austrian painter born in 1862, best known for his dazzling, gold-infused works that helped define the Art Nouveau and Symbolist movements. He was a founding member of the Vienna Secession, a group of artists who broke away from traditional academic art to explore more modern, expressive styles. What makes Klimt iconic? His most famous painting, The Kiss, 1907 to 1908, is a shimmering masterpiece of love and ornamentation. He often painted strong, sensual women, wrapped in elaborate patterns and gilded textures. Klimt's golden phase used real gold leaf, inspired by Byzantine mosaics and medieval art. He also created landscapes, portraits, and allegorical works that explored themes like life, death, and eroticism. Klimt wasn't just a painter, he was a cultural force in fin de siècle Vienna, a city buzzing with intellectuals like Freud, Mahler, and Wittgenstein. His art reflected the tension between tradition and modernity, beauty and decay.
Die komt uit Rijnhausen, dat gebouw hier rechts.
We previously discussed the monotony of the scenery due to the excessive use of Spandau objects. In the area we're currently driving, this is clearly different. New buildings and buildings from payware add-ons seem to have been added here. It certainly makes the environment much more enjoyable and recognizable. During the drive so far, performance has also remained very good. That's always a challenge, but the card seems well optimized. A good PC with plenty of processing power can be helpful. OMSI doesn't need a powerful graphics card, but a processor with a few cores and a high GHz count. The PC Mr. Drive is using has an i7-14900KF, which can reach up to 6 GHz, but OMSI doesn't use that much, it usually doesn't go above 5.67. You may have noticed that the onboard computer/ticket machine screen differs from the one normally used for this bus. Mr. Drive has modified this for use on its own map Stadsregio Vlietlanden. Modifying this screen requires modifying the script, which author MX200 has not authorized distribution. Therefore, Mr. Drive only uses this for private purposes. The entire bus has been modified to work better with track IR, especially the mirrors. That's why Mr. Drive uses this version of this bus, originally intended for Vlietlanden. Mr. Drive is now calmly behind the wheel, but before we boarded this bus, we had a conversation about OMSI maps. As a map maker, Mr. Drive knows how much effort goes into creating a good map, and he has a great deal of appreciation for everyone who tries or does it. Yet, he sees a negative trend in OMSI map creation. Until a few years ago, maps, in this case, fictional ones, were always faithful representations of an average city or landscape. They could be real. Unfortunately, that has changed, and now maps mainly have to contain many lines and feature many types of buses in many different repaints. In contrast to the very realistic-looking maps like Alheim-Lorenzbach, Jerten, and Stadregio Vlietlanden, there are now fantasy worlds like Alheim V4, Stadedreieck V2, and now this version of Lemmental. What makes it so unrealistic, I hear someone ask. It's the road network, the bus network, and the overall layout. On Stadedreieck, for example, but also on Lemmental, you'll encounter hamlets served by 5 bus lines or where 2 lines terminate. On some fictional maps, you'll even encounter small villages with 3 bus stations, 2 train stations, and 2
Ja, dat
airports.
ze ommetje als dit dat zou
Clearly
in
the
Nederland,
experience of a teenager, who sees the world in those dimensions. Of course, building something like that is allowed, but it doesn't feel right, and such maps always quickly disappear into the attic at Mr. Drive.
wat van dit soort rare.
If Mr. Drive likes a map but rejects the bus network, he simply modifies it and uses it for personal purposes. The use of simple splines has also become common since Kevin Nitschmann arrived on the scene. The fact that this significantly detracts from both AI behavior and performance doesn't seem to bother Nitschmann, and his followers don't seem to mind either. On Stadtdreieck, a map with many invisible splines, Mr. Drive built all sorts of intersection objects to make the map flow smoothly and logically. On this solid foundation, he then created a new bus network. Now, instead of 50 lines, there are about 12 that span the entire map. A good map builder therefore not only needs knowledge of OMSI and scripting, but also an understanding of how a bus network functions and its requirements.
Blij dat ik deze lijn
It can be
met
fictional,
volledig hoef te
but it
rijden.
must also be realistic, because that realism is what distinguishes a game from a simulator. While I was talking, I heard Mr. Drive say he's aware that he doesn't need to drive an articulated bus on this route. I can understand that. Sometimes a bus can't be long enough, but for this route, a shorter one is better.
Ortsmitte, Kulturhaus.
Hier. Daar mag ik niet in, dus dat is makkelijk. Ik heb geen idee eigenlijk hoe ik hier moet stoppen of zo, volgens mij niet. Hey, tweelingbroers.
Oh dear, doubts abound. What's the right route? This section looks unnecessarily complicated and quite illogical. Why a bus here? It'll surely work out, and hopefully, we'll stay on track.
Jezus man. Wat is dit nou weer voor een raar rondje van de zaak?
Guten Tag.
Hallo. Die rijbussen die hier staat. Look at that, Mr. Joey. It's pure nonsense.
You're right. At least, according to your standards. Of course, you have to keep in mind that this is a German map, partly set in the German countryside. It's not The Hague, Amsterdam, or Rotterdam. Roads are simply different here, and the landscape has a different character. In short, look beyond your own backyard and hone your driving skills if you can't manage it, but don't complain that it can't be done. It can be done. That's an undeniable fact.
Ah, ja.
Ronberg, Ortsmitte, Marktplatz.
Ja, I see. C. Waar is C ergens? F, E, dat is wel C. Wat daar zou zijn. Oké.
Maybe his driving skills need some polishing, at least he knows the alphabet. Very handy at a bus station like this, otherwise you just keep driving in circles around this square bus station. The clicking noise you keep hearing is caused by the indicator on the Aerosoft bus and truck wheel, which you can also admire in the image. Mr. Drive doesn't think that indicator handle will last much longer. The sturdiness of the Aerosoft will leave something to be
So far,
desired
so
anyway.
good.
Maybe he should switch to a Hori.
Hallo. Jullie gaan niet mee? Je weet niet wat je mist, maar dat maakt niet uit.
Kronberg, Gemeindehaus.
Goed dat ik even kijk, anders had ik het scherp gemaakt. Dus, oh, ik heb... Je stond een beetje uitgezet, zie ik. En de moment dat ik dit doe... Gaat mijn stuur meteen 2 keer zo zwaar. Stom is dit. Ja, goed. Hij doet het ook niet eens meer. Maakt niet uit.
Oddly enough, the steering wheel settings are disabled as soon as you open the options panel. After opening, the suspension is set to 100%, and it feels like driving a heavy truck without power steering. Activating the sun glow was therefore far from convenient.
Kom maar binnen, hallo.
As a passenger, this route has been quite beautiful so far. We've passed through urban areas, seen some villages, and even seen a square bus station. The beginning seemed a bit dull, but as we progressed, the map looked increasingly better. This certainly doesn't apply to Mr. Drive, who is now using all his muscle to wriggle the bus through the bends.
Hauptstraße.
His face is getting redder and redder and his expression increasingly troubled. But no pity, he made that stupid mistake himself. And if you burn your bottom, you have to suffer the consequences. We're now halfway there, but the end is not yet in sight. Who knows what will happen next? Will we stay on track, or will we still go wrong somewhere?
Moet ik hierin? Nee toch? Blijkbaar wel. Stik onzin. Oh. Dit is de ground texture.
Disbelief about the route to be taken, and indeed, a rather strange road for this bus. Just pull the steering wheel. If ground textures are also missing, you get a striped landscape. Fortunately, this isn't possible in the normal landscape, but it is in the political one, because... So there we were, cruising past this narrow road when Mr. Drive, usually a man of gears and silence, suddenly mutters, "Politics in the Netherlands. It's like driving with a broken GPS lately." I chuckled, but he wasn't wrong. I told him, "It's wild right now. The cabinets collapsed, NSC's pulling out, and parties are reshuffling like it's musical chairs. Even Denk's leadership is in flux. And don't get me started on the debates, 1 minute it's Gaza, the next it's housing, and somewhere in between someone wants to bring back conscription too. Mr. Drive raised an eyebrow. And who's actually leading? I shrugged. Depends on the poll. PVV and GL PETA are neck and neck, CDA suddenly surging, and VVD's taken a hit. It's like watching a bus route get rerouted mid-drive, no one's sure where we're headed, but everyone's honking. He grunted. Sounds like they need a timetable. I laughed. Or at least a working destination display. We drove on in silence for a bit, passing the wind turbines near Old Ennel. Then he said, "You know, Joey. Politics used to be about direction. Now it's just about acceleration." I nodded. And sometimes, Mr. Drive, it's about knowing when to hit the brakes. That was quite a blow. Luckily collisions are off, otherwise this video would end here.
Lemmental-Neuenbreid, Parkplatz.
Suddenly Mr. Drive, eyes fixed on the road, casually muttered, "You know what's more expensive than diesel these days? A cup of coffee." I blinked. You're not wrong. I saw a bag of beans the other day going for €30 a kilo. That's not coffee, that's liquid regret. He grunted. Used to be you could get a loaf of bread, some eggs, and a coffee for under a tenner. Now you're lucky if the bread still has corners. I nodded. Shrinkflation, my friend. The bread's smaller, the butter's thinner, and the cheese slices look like they've been on a diet. Even the tomatoes are starting to look nervous. He raised an eyebrow. And the supermarkets? Oh, they're thriving. Albert Heijn's got bonus deals that feel like puzzles. Jumbo's still pretending their prices are low. And Lidl? Lidl's the last bastion of hope, if you don't mind fighting someone over the last avocado. We passed a billboard for oat milk. Mr. Drive scoffed. $2.80 for a liter of oats and water. I could make that in the garage. I laughed. Yeah, but then you'd have to call it Drive milk and market it as artisanal. He didn't smile, but I swear the bus took a slightly more smug turn. Groceries, man. They used to be boring. Now they're a financial adventure. And coffee? Coffee's become a luxury item. I told Mr. Drive, at this rate, we'll be serving espresso shots in champagne flutes. He nodded. And charging extra for foam. So all the talking make thirsty, let's have a mug of fresh brew. It now seems we did the biggest part of our journey, but again the route is a bit confusing. It looked like we have to do a strange detour, which, in the eyes of Mr. Drive, makes no sense. But to finish this line we have to make those stops too. Let's see what this brings to us.
Oh, was net op tijd. Nu. Even kijken. Gaan we mee of niet? Of gaan we nog gewoon voorbij lopen? Nou joh, hij doet niet mee. Dat zit mij niet hoor. Alle linien. En doen ze naar rechts of doen ze naar rechts? Die hulppijlers zijn ook niet helemaal altijd even duidelijk. Of misschien wat overduidelijk, waardoor ze niet duidelijk zijn. Hoe hier nou weer in?
Lemmental-Bienenkirchen,
Oh,
Bahnhof. Umsteigemöglichkeit zum Regionalverkehr.
Mr. Drive seems not to notice, but we missed the entrance to the stops. Let's hope he will recognize his mistake and is able to correct it. I guess we have to approach that entrance again, and that means an extra round about the block. In any case it will increase our delay, but hey, we have fun and that's what counts. Luckily it is OMSI, so no points are earned of lost.
Oh, heel. Oh, heel. Wat waarschijnlijk. Welke daar moeten ze dan? Oké, gaan we nog een rondje doen. We zijn toch al te laat.
He is aware of our situation. Before we got on the bus, Mr. Drive asked me, Joey, what's the deal with OMSI? People still play that fossil? I nearly missed a stop. Still play it? OMSI isn't a game. It's a lifestyle. A commitment. A slow descent into madness, with realistic bus physics. He raised an eyebrow. I adjusted my mirror like a man preparing for confession. Let me take you back, I said. OMSI 1, released in 2011. The original. The legend. You drove a MAN SD 200 through West Berlin, 1986. The graphics? Retro. The sounds? Authentic. The bugs? Biblical. Mr. Drive chuckled. Biblical? Oh yeah. Passengers would phase through doors like ghosts. AI cars would spontaneously combust. And the timetable system? It was less schedule and more guessing game with consequences. He nodded. Sounds rough. Rough? It was glorious. You had to manually start the bus, battery, ignition, lights, destination board. Forget one step and the bus just sat there, judging you silently. And don't get me started on the ticket machine. It had more buttons than a Boeing cockpit. Mr. Drive looked impressed. And OMSI 2? I sighed. 2013. The sequel. Promised smoother performance, articulated buses, and time travel. You could drive the same route in different decades. But the bugs? Oh, they evolved. Passengers walked through walls. Rain fell inside the bus. And sometimes, the game just decided you were late, even if you were early. He laughed. So what changed? Well, OMSI 2 added the MAN NG 272, the bendy bus. That thing was a beast. You'd take a corner too fast and the rear end would swing out like a drunken eel. But it was beautiful. And modders? They went wild. Suddenly you had Dutch routes, British buses, Polish pensioners. It was chaos. Glorious, multilingual chaos. We passed a billboard for a new simulator. Mr. Drive scoffed. Why not switch to something newer? I shook my head. Newer sims have better graphics, sure. But they lack soul. OMSI has soul. It has character. It has a bug where the sun rises at midnight and the passengers wear shorts in a snowstorm. That's personality. He grinned. So you still play it? Every week. I've got mods older than my cat. And every time I boot it up, I know I'm in for a ride, not just through Berlin, but through the annals of gaming history. OMSI isn't perfect. But it's honest. And in a world of shiny simulators and shallow gameplay, that counts for something. Mr. Drive nodded. Respect. I smiled. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to brake gently. There's a pensioner boarding, and I'd rather not launch her into orbit.
Bienenkirchen, Sternweiser Weg.
Ja, die dus.
We're still rolling. The bus is rattling along like an old kettle on a dodgy hob, and I'm sat here next to Mr. Drive, watching him handle the wheel like it's an old friend with mood swings. The sun's dipping low, casting that golden glow that makes even the graffiti look poetic. And I'm thinking, blimey, what a day. 2 wrong turns. Not one, not a cheeky detour, 2 full-blown where the hell are we? Moments. The first was my fault, I'll own that. I pointed left with the confidence of a man who'd read the map upside down. The second? Well, let's just say the sat-nav had a sense of humor and Mr. Drive had the patience of a saint. He didn't shout. He didn't sigh. He just gave me that look, the one that says, "You'll learn, lad. Or you'll get very good at apologizing." And in between the missed stops and the pensioner who muttered bloody amateurs under her breath, we talked. Proper talk. About OMSI, that mythical beast of a bus simulator. Mr. Drive spoke about it like it was a rite of passage. Not a game, mind you. A test. A digital gauntlet where you start the engine manually, sell tickets with a machine that looks like it was designed by a sadist, and drive through Berlin like your job depends on it, because in OMSI, it does. He told me about the bugs, passengers walking through walls, AI traffic with the spatial awareness of a drunk pigeon, and yet, he spoke with love. Because OMSI's not about perfection. It's about authenticity. It's about feeling the weight of the bus, the pressure of the timetable, and the quiet satisfaction of nailing a stop without spilling someone's tea. And I get it now. I really do. Sitting here, watching Mr. Drive navigate the evening rush like he's conducting an orchestra of chaos, I realized that today wasn't just a shift. It was a lesson. A story. A comedy of errors with a surprisingly warm heart. So yes, I messed up. Twice. Got told off by a woman with a trolley bag and a stare that could curdle milk. But I also learned. I listened. I laughed. And I saw what this job, this craft, really is. And as we pull into the last stop, brakes hissing like they're gossiping about us, I look over at Mr. Drive. He doesn't say anything. Just nods. And that nod? That's worth more than any timetable tick. Because if you can survive 2 wrong turns, a grumpy pensioner, and a lecture on OMSI, and still end the day with a smile, then maybe, just maybe, you're on the right route after